The hillside in Galilee was a sea of dust and tired bodies. 5,000 people sat under an open, unforgiving sky, their voices reduced to a low, dry murmur that drifted away into the heat. They had traveled for days, and the distance showed in the way they slumped against the earth, eyes fixed on the horizon, waiting for something that did not come. The air was thick with the scent of parched grass and the metallic tang of sweat. Hunger was not just a feeling here, it was a physical presence, a weight that pressed down on every shoulder. Mothers pulled children closer, shielding them from the relentless sun, while men stared at empty hands, their faces etched with the quiet desperation of those who have run out of options. There was no food, there was no water. The resources of the world had failed them, leaving only the vast, indifferent expanse of the landscape. The crowd shifted, a restless tide of movement that stirred up clouds of grit, yet no one left. They remained trapped in the tension between their overwhelming need and the reality of their scarcity. Amidst the sea of weary faces, a young boy sat apart, his fingers curled tightly around a small bundle. Inside were 5 barley loaves and 2 dried fish. He felt the hunger of those around him, a sharp, gnawing ache. He looked at his hands, then at the vast, expectant crowd, and his pulse quickened. This was not enough. He hesitated, his breath hitching in his chest as he weighed the absurdity of his offering against the desperation of the thousands. He stood up, his legs trembling slightly as he navigated the gaps between the seated families. The weight of the bundle felt heavy. He reached the center, his eyes darting toward the figure waiting ahead. He felt small, exposed, and utterly foolish. He looked up, his gaze meeting the calm, steady eyes of Jesus. He whispered, "This is all I have." He let go of the bundle, watching it move from his small, shaking hands into the hands of the teacher. Jesus took the bundle, his movements deliberate and unhurried. He did not look at the crowd, nor did he acknowledge the impossibility of the situation. Instead, he turned his face toward the open sky. He held the 5 loaves and 2 fish aloft, his hands steady against the backdrop of the vast, blue expanse. As he raised the offering, the wind that had been stirring the dust across the hillside abruptly died away. The low murmur of 5,000 voices ceased, replaced by a silence so absolute it felt heavy. People nearby stopped their restless shifting, their eyes drawn to the figure standing at the center of the slope. The light seemed to change, sharpening the edges of the landscape, as if the sun itself were pausing to witness the act. Jesus began to speak, his voice low but carrying clearly. He was not addressing the people, but the Creator. In that moment, the boundary between the earth and the heavens began to blur. The air grew dense, vibrating with a quiet, unseen energy that made the skin prickle. It was a moment of breathless anticipation, a pause between the world as it was. The boy watched, his own breath caught in his throat, as the small, meager gift became the focal point. Everything hung in the balance, waiting for the miracle. The miracle did not arrive with a roar or a flash of light. It happened in the quiet, rhythmic passing of bread from hand to hand. Jesus broke a piece, gave it to a disciple, who passed it to the next person, and then the next. The boy watched, his eyes widening as the basket in the disciple's hands remained heavy, never emptying. He stepped forward, his hesitation vanishing, and grabbed a second basket. He moved through the crowd, his feet light against the grass. He handed a loaf to a woman, then a piece of fish to an old man, and still, the basket in his grip felt full. The hunger that had defined the morning dissolved into a low, joyous hum of conversation. People leaned toward each other, breaking bread and laughing in disbelief. Children darted between the rows, their hands stained with crumbs, sharing pieces with their friends. The boy felt the weight of the basket change, not from lack, but from the abundance of fragments left behind. The boy stopped at the edge of the slope, looking down at the baskets, now brimming with leftovers, realizing that what he had surrendered had returned to him 100 times over. The sun dipped below the horizon, pulling long, golden shadows across the grass. The crowd moved away in slow, steady streams, their voices fading into the distance. The boy stood alone at the center of the hillside. He looked down at the baskets, now resting in the cooling air. They were empty of food, but heavy with the memory of what had transpired. He understood now. The offering he had surrendered had not vanished. It had expanded to fill the hunger of thousands. He turned and began the walk home, his steps light. The hillside was silent, yet the air seemed to vibrate with a lingering, invisible warmth. He carried no bread, but his heart felt entirely full. He had learned the secret of the kingdom. The only way to keep what is given is to let it go. The echo of the miracle remained. A boy offers his small lunch of 5 loaves and 2 fish, and Jesus multiplies it to feed a huge crowd with leftovers. A boy offers his small lunch of 5 loaves and 2 fish, and Jesus multiplies it to feed a huge crowd with leftovers. This echoes John 6:12, where Jesus says, "Gather the pieces so nothing is wasted." God honors every small gift we bring. Lord, when I feel I have too little, help me offer what I have anyway. Bless my small efforts in this tired, hungry moment. Show me that sharing and trusting you turns scarcity into enough, even leftovers of grace. If you felt the power in this message today, share it with someone you love. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Help us to grow something really special. Grace and truth is here. Let the truth walk with you. Thanks for watching.